Talked about the limited scap retraction. I'll show you in a better angle from the back, where you're not necessarily retracting that arm, right? You're not creating that stretch with that arm. Your elbow kind of just stays in place. Your shoulder kind of stays in place, and then you'll see here it kind of just goes up into an arm raise. This elbow right here, I'll compare you here in a little bit, but that elbow from this position after hand separation, that's when we see it kind of retract and pull back into that scap and then go into launch. So you'll see here that yours just kind of goes up into arm raise. And then the next thing that I noticed here is that shoulder positioning and that hip positioning are relatively kind of in line, right? There's no point in which you create a separation from the hips going internally rotating and the shoulders kind of counter rotating or holding posture to create that stretch and that separation to then launch a lot better, right? So that's I think, again, when it comes to why your power output is low right now, I think that's a huge indicator. Lack of separation, lack of retraction. So just to kind of compare you, just want you to notice that hand separation, watch his arm path and the path that he takes with his elbow, how at hand separation here, it goes back into that retraction. But notice how as soon as he's retracting, that his hip is internally rotating, right? So he's creating that stretch, right? So the hips are going and then the elbows retracting. So now you have this rubber band, essentially this analogy of the rubber band being stretched to the maximum capacity. And then when his front foot plants, right? So you see the amount of separation there from the hip to that shoulder. Now it's about him just letting that arm go along and just release that tension. And then boom, that's when everything comes through, right? We talk about that elbow layback. You can't even see his right here, but almost at 180 degrees, which is pretty impressive. Maybe you can see it a little bit better in this view too. So hands kind of separate, elbow scap retraction, see this front hip and the rear hip internally rotating, boom, front foot strike, see the amount of torque that he's created there, and then boom, launching, and then the difference between external rotation there and yours, and then boom, all launching out at once. It's extremely efficient, right? So boom, scap retraction, internal rotation of the hips, elbow climbs, boom, never really gets too disconnected there. Efficient out through the fingertips, man.